Hi, everybody. I hope we're all having a good time today. So, with that being said, we will get right down to the answers to your quiz. Question number one: how did you two meet? Well, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this story, some of you may have not. But the way that Rachel and I met was shortly after I had transferred back to Camp Pendleton from Okinawa. I was living in the barracks on base, and the gym that I trained at was there as well. And this one particular day, it was right after my second parachute crash. I still had stitches in my leg, and my leg was all wrapped up. But I had just finished a workout at the gym, and I was hungry, and I knew right outside the back gate of Camp Pendleton was a Chipotle. And so I walked into Chipotle, and while I was standing in line, I saw Rachel working the register. And I saw her, and the immediate thought in my head was, I need that in my life. Don't really know what made me say it, but that's just what shot through my head. And I worked my way up through the line, and she rang up my order, and me being, I guess, the complete meathead that I am, said, "You look like you know your way around the gym." And she gave me a big smile and said, "Yes, I'm a power lifter." And I just so happened to be wearing the t-shirt from my last meet when I was in Japan. And I said, "Well, how about that? So am I." And there were a few more little words exchanged, nothing too wild. And I turned and walked out and got in my car. I sat there for probably a good 3 or 4 minutes, saying to myself, "Scott, you need to do something about this. You need to make something happen here." So I looked around in my car, and all I could find was a piece of an envelope. I think it was some kind of bill. And I tore off a piece, and I wrote down my name and number, and I walked back inside. And I got back up there and walked right up to her and said, "Hey, my name is Scott, but I don't know what your situation right now is, but if you ever want to have dinner sometime, here's my number. Give me a call." And I turned on my heel and walked right back out. She didn't call me. A couple of weeks go by, actually, and still no word. And here we are back in the exact same situation. All right, gym, hungry, Chipotle. I walked in the door, and I see her right as I'm clearing the door, and she looks at me and makes a beeline to the back of the store and disappears around a corner. She was hiding from me. So I sat in the line, just working my way up, and I kept my eye on that corner. And after a couple of minutes, I see one of these, and I caught her peeking. So I gave her a little wave, and she waved back. And when I finally got up to the register to pay for my food, she came back up. She says, "Hey, I'm sorry, I lost your number," which I find out later on she had not. So I'm like, "Okay, well, do you want it again?" She said yes. So I wrote down my name and number on one of the little cards they had up front there, gave it to her, walked out. She didn't call. Still didn't call for another couple of days. And I think it was 2 or 3 days after that, she sent me a text that simply said, "Hey, this is Rachel from Chipotle." And I just happened to be eating that day's post-workout meal at Panda Express on base because I was tired of Chipotle because of all this. So after a few days of texting, that's how we got into our first date. And that leads us quite seamlessly into, well, not quite seamlessly. We'll go into number 2 now. What was my first impression of Rachel? Well, that's a very broad topic there. When I first picked her up from her house for our first date, she was more nervous than I've ever seen anyone. more than people jumping out of a plane for the first time. But once we got into the car ride and started talking a little bit, it became very, very clear that she was this giggly, fun girl. So that would be my first impression of her. Leave it, let that go, Floki. So yeah, that was my first impression of her. That she was a giggly, fun girl. My favorite characteristic of her. Well, I've got a lot. My favorite characteristic of her, I would have to say, would be her dedication. She sets goals and chooses things that she wants to do, and there is nothing out there that will stop her from that. She's had several careers in my time with her, most of which have been thrown some serious curveballs, but all of which she has done her absolute best to see through until the effort was now futile or someone else stopped her. But when she sets her mind towards something, that's it. It's going to happen. I've seen this through her bodybuilding contests. Probably most prevalent there. Most people don't know much about the prep process, but it is a absolutely grueling, absolutely grueling experience preparing for a bodybuilding show, and she's done it 3 times. So that puts some perspective on her dedication. So that would be my favorite characteristic of her. Floki, you need to leave. You need to go away. You need to go away. You need to go away. Some of the details of our first date. Well, our first date was pretty nice. Off. We're not playing right now. So our first date was pretty nice. Most of you that know me know that I'm kind of an old school guy. And Rachel was dead set on simply meeting me somewhere. And I was not going to have any of that. I was very, very clear. I'm going to pick you up at your front door for our first date, and I'm going to drop you off at your front door for our first date. And that's it. So I came and I picked her up. And we got in my car and we headed down to Oceanside. And we got down there and we parked and got out of the car and started heading toward Breakwater Brewery for dinner and drinks. And at one point in time, I don't remember why I did this. I don't remember if it was a particularly chilly night that night. It was late May, so it couldn't have been. But we were standing at a crosswalk, getting ready to cross the street, and I put my arms around her and pulled her in close. Floki, down! And I remember her looking kind of nervous. And I said to her, "Don't worry, I'm not going to kiss you right now." So we continued our way to get our dinner and our drinks. And then after that, we went down and walked on the pier down in Oceanside and just talked. Just got to know each other. And when it was all... when we walked back up into town, we walked right by a little station that Oceanside PD had set up for people to get themselves breathalyzed. So we just for grins. Go lay just for grins, we had the exact same amount to drink that night, and we wanted to see how it affected each of us. So we both blew, and hers came out like double to mine, which makes sense because I'm twice her size. So, but anyway, after that, we got back in the car, and I took her home. And where did? And I guess that leads us nicely into question number 5. Some of the details of our first kiss. Well, it happened at the end of that first date. I took her home, and I walked her to her front door, just like I had insisted on doing, and I gave her a hug, and I just felt the vibe was right. So I pulled back a little and looked her in the eyes, and her eyes told me that I should proceed, and I kissed her and said goodnight and sent her into her house. So that would be our first kiss. Question number 6. Do we have nicknames for each other? No, we do not. We really don't. I usually refer to her with terms of endearment, honey, babe, sweetheart, etc. To the point where when I call her by her real name, it's almost like it's something serious. Like it's uncomfortable for me to call her by her real name, just because I've spent so long calling her everything else. But as far as nicknames for each other, no, we do not. Question number 7. Do we have any special vocabulary with a meaning only the two of us know? No, we do not. When did I know that I loved her? Well, that's a tough one. So for me, it wasn't a singular outright moment. It was a long stretch of time with many events that took place. But the first time I told her that I loved her was about 2 weeks after she told me. And, you know, she told me that she loved me one night, and saying it back was right on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. And honestly, there was nothing at all about her. It was just the sheer fact that I was not prepared for that. Some of you know a little bit about my past. And when this whole thing was getting started, I was still somewhat in a healing phase. And I knew that I had very, very strong feelings for her. But at that exact moment, was I prepared to say, I love you again? No. No, I was not. But honestly, it didn't take that much longer after that. We went to a concert. This would have been October of 2018. Jason Aldean, and you know, just sitting there up in the grass, listening to the music, just holding her and enjoying her and being with her there. I can say that's when I knew. And a lot of people don't know, but our song is Beautiful Crazy by Luke Combs. And Luke Combs just happened to be opening for Jason Aldean that night. And while our song was playing, I pulled her in close and I told her that I loved her. So that was when I knew that what I was feeling for her was love. But what really, really drove it home um, was in December of 2018, just a few months after this. I had torn my pectoral while at work, and this began a several month long journey of many surgeries and many different hardships around that. But when I was recovering from all that, because of what I had to do with my arm, I could barely take care of myself. I couldn't even put on my own shoes. Um, so Rachel had me come and stay with her, and she took care of me so well. And during that whole thing was when I really knew. Question number 9. When did I know that I wanted to marry her? Again, this is a tough one. Again, just like when I knew that I loved her, I can't necessarily say that it was a singular moment. Um, again, those of you that know me know that I had a very, very bad, like really bad experience with marriage before. Um, and even when me and Rachel first started dating, um, I wasn't I wasn't certain that I was gonna go down that road ever again. That's how bad this thing was. Um, but over time, I started to feel that this is someone that I couldn't be without. Um, and the idea of marriage became more appealing. Um, and I guess what really set that in my mind was honestly seeing her with my kids. For those of you who don't know, I have 3 kids right now. They are 13, 12, and 10. When Rachel met them, they were, um, oh boy, they were 10, 8, and 7, I believe. 10, 8, and 6, or something like that. Very significantly younger. Um, but she got exposed to my kids, and the connection was instant. My kids absolutely love having her around. They love the fact that she's in my life. Uh, they love the fact that she's going to be staying in my life. Um, and that's when I really knew I wanted to marry her. Now, as I'm sure you've done the math on this, this was several years ago. Um, the delays were of my own doing. She expressed interest right around a year of being together that she had desires of getting married. Um, but just for my past and my age and her age and just other things in life, I insisted that we wait a little while. And if you asked her then, it drove her nuts. But if you ask her now, she's glad I did. So that's how I knew that I wanted to marry her, if that answers the question. Question number 10. What is her greatest strength? Well, this ties in pretty well to question number 2, with her, or my favorite characteristic of her. Um, her greatest strength, in my eyes, is no matter how badly life beats her down, no matter how bad things get, she always stands up. There's nothing that I've seen in the 4+ years we've been together that has been something to keep her down. No matter how rough it gets, she always stands back up, cinches up her saddle, and keeps going. Um, and that's something. There's a pretty significant age gap between Rachel and I. And being in the Marines, I have the opportunity to work with men that are of similar age to her, and then also men that are significantly older than me. I have a nice cross section of age gaps that I get to work with, and that no quit, never gonna keep me down mindset is not common in people her age, and that's something that has really caught my eye. She's she's got that no quit mindset of a much more mature mind, and I do believe that that is her greatest strength in my eyes. Question 11. How has she or my love for her surprised me? Well, like I talked about for question number 9, um, I had I had not so great ideals regarding marriage when we first met, and I was certain that nothing was going to change that. I thought that I had been down that road and it burned me, um, and I didn't want to go down that road again. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Um, but what surprised me about her and being with her is my outlook on I guess romantic connection against relationships has drastically changed. Again, something that a lot of you probably don't know about me. I had a particularly bad deployment in Afghanistan in 2011, and coming back from that, I was diagnosed with not necessarily PTSD, but what we call combat stress. Um, and it led me to have a very disconnected outlook on life. I was very reluctant to not necessarily get close to people, but to let people get close to me, if that makes sense. Um, so the concept of opening myself up fully to someone was still a very scary thing for me. Um, but over the course of the first few months we were together, uh, she helped me change that. Being with her, learning who she really is and what she is about, um, helped me really learn a lot about myself, and what I am capable of doing, the emotions that I'm, capable of having, and more importantly, the amount of love that I have in my heart that I'm willing to give out and give to another person. Um, and that that's something that surprised me, and it honestly saved me saved me as a human being. I mean, I'm fairly certain I'd still be alive today had I not met her. But would I be as happy as I am? Would I have the full life that I have? Um, no, no, I would not. I would not be the man I am today, and I would not have the life that I have today if it wasn't for her. So her ability to change a very, very big point of view that I have on life, that's what surprised me the most about being with her. Question number 12. Is there anything you have seen change or grow in her during this experience? Well, If you ask her dad, uh, he will say that I've been very good for her growth in, uh, her mental life. I guess that's the term. Her mental life, her professional, her professional attitudes, and then just her overall personality. I've seen significantly change over the course of the last 4.5 years. Now, mind you, when I first met her, she was very young, very um, somewhat naive, I guess, but not too bad. Just um, naive's not the right word. I would go with inexperienced uh, young girl. And now, since she's been with me, um, she's grown into, by the time you're watching this, she'll be less than a week away from being 27. Everybody knows that time period is a time of significant growth for the mind. Um, but I've seen just her general outlook on life change a lot. Probably the most significant change that I've seen um, is Rachel. Rachel's gonna hate me for this. Rachel has a tendency to overthink things and get really emotionally involved in things that she has no control over at all. Now, I think something that has changed in her since she's been with me is she's learned how to let things go. Um, if you know anything about me, you'll definitely know that I have the mindset that if there's something out there that there's nothing I can do about at all, or if there is something I can do about it, have I done everything I can? If the answer to that is yes, then I don't let it concern me. And I'm not saying that I or now she has a I don't care attitude about everything in life, but she's learned um, to let go of the things that she can't affect, and I've noticed that has affected her overall happiness in a good way, in a positive way. So yeah, that's probably the thing I've seen change in her the most over the last several years. And question 13. What am I looking forward to the most about being married to each other? And I don't even have to think about that one. What I'm looking forward to the most is the unknown. I love the fact that that Rachel and I can look out into the horizon and not know what's coming. It's daunting, sure, but that unknown leaves a blank canvas for us to write our own story, to paint our own picture. It gives us the ability to choose what we want to do. We don't have a pre-planned, a pre-planned or a pre-planned route to where we're going to end up. We get to pick our story. We get to pick our path. And I'm pretty close to retiring from my career in the military. And once that's done, we're gonna have the opportunity to really really start fresh and do something great, something new, something awesome. And between now and then we have more big things. We have the potential for kids, different jobs, different opportunities. So the unknown and the journey is what I'm looking forward to the most with her. So I hope this answers everybody's questions, and I hope somebody won. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy your time.